We were $1.5 million in debt, $99,000 overdrawn. We ended up in the attic of my house, hooked on meth, fixing to hang myself. I had no clue we were going to now be stewarding billions of dollars worth of assets. Dude, God loves idiots. That's his niche market. I don't know anyone in the real estate business that's doing what we're doing. What we're building, I've codified as a land-based cruise ship. I want to tell you how stupid I was with money. I bought a laser disc player at 26% interest and was still making payments, and they had stopped making laser discs. Well, you're not talking to a financial genius here. Don't be a dream squisher. Honey and girls just trip my breakers. So I said, Lord, I'd like a hot wife and a good life if you got them available. I get up every day feeling like a mosquito in a nudist colony. You think God will give you abs? No, dude. I ask you how good your sex life, 1 to 10, and it's a 2, that ain't good. And I'm not against architects. I'm just saying if they knew what I knew, they would do what I do because it's way cooler. I mean, God made the whole process of sex, which takes him to the next level for me. I'm like, God, I like the way you think. It's strange. You come up with some wild stuff, but dude, you got it going. You're investing your time if you're listening to this. And I tell you what, I want it to be a good investment. We speak native languages, me and Timmy. There's a lot of translation to get to you, Bo. You look at us and go, God, they're excited, but I don't know what they're saying.
It feels good.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Commercially Speaking, the only commercial real estate podcast where a CCIM instructor tries to teach investment strategy to his little brother, who once asked if cap rate was short for Captain Rate.
I'm Bo Barron, CCIM, commercial investor, broker, CCIM instructor, co-founder of Hearthstone Capital Fund, Marine vet, and here to keep the conversation from derailing into movie quotes and anecdotes.
And I'm Timmy Barron, ADHD, actor, comedian, and here to ask dumb questions so you can make smart deals. Bo, before we move on, you remember that one Christmas where Sister Cody changed the family dynamic forever?
When she had all 8 of us take the Myers-Briggs personality test?
Yep. Then she gave each of us a multiple-page personality profile to read out loud.
Yeah, that's hard to forget.
Well, that's when I learned that I was an ENFP, which means curious, creative, passionate, and it also explains why I cry during Zillow commercials and make major life decisions based on gut, heart, and fortune cookies. What's yours again?
INTJ. Focused, strategic, likely to build a 30-year financial model before lunch.
So basically, we're the same. Well, here's your warning, Bo. Today's guest is an ENFP too, which means the next hour is likely to include a full-blown existential breakthrough, 3 side quests, and a duck metaphor that goes on way too long.
This is going to be exhausting, isn't it?
Only if you hate hope, because today's guest is John Marsh, a man who lost it all, then rebuilt a town, like literally built it. Rebuilt it over 300 properties, not just with hammers and hard hats, but with heart, vision, and a divine level of delusional optimism that only an ENFP can understand.
He's the founder of Marsh Collective, a company that helps leaders reclaim purpose, build wealth, and revitalize their communities without losing their soul.
This guy went from bankrupt to better than ever, helping transform Selma, Alabama into a living case study for hope, grit, and intentional design. He's like if Chip Gaines took ayahuasca and built a theology of real estate.
He's advised everyone from Fortune 500 CEOs to small-town pastors, and today he's advising us, which honestly feels like a downgrade for him.
Whoa, Bo, I know you're being humble, but you can't just say things like that if we're going to get Barbara Corcoran on the show. Can we do that line again?
He's advised everyone from Fortune 500 CEOs to small-town pastors, and today he's advising us, which honestly feels like an upgrade for him.
Beautiful. Now buckle up, y'all, and please welcome to the show,
John Marsh.
That has to be the best introduction ever. And the one piece I would edit is it's Opelika,
That's
Alabama,
what I thought, too.
and
I was
not
like,
Selma, Alabama. So Opelika, think hope you like a Opelika.
Opelika. Opelika. Opelika did a bad job on that one, I say.
Everything else was amazing. I've never had an intro like that. I'd take you guys with me.
Fantastic.
Well, good. Well done, brother.
Fantastic. Thanks, brother. Well, John, it's first of all, I heard you all as I was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Did Brian Krall introduce you to? Is that what
He did? He did. Yeah. When Brian's my coach.
Yeah.
And of course, we've known him our entire lives, basically.
Yes.
But he's my coach, and as he was helping us, really helping me work through kind of how we're going to launch and build up Hearthstone, he connected with me with John. His words were, "Hey, look, there's this guy down in Alabama who's as connected in the redemptive real estate space as just about anybody I've ever met.
Oh, nice.
You have to know him." And so he sent out an email, and we jumped on a call, and I got to tell you, man, like, you've gotten just a taste of John Marsh so far, but
Yes.
you're going to love this conversation.
Well, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about this story, okay? Because, I mean, we just hyped it up here with, like, bankrupt to rebuilt a town. I can't wait to hear the story from you.
Well, there's hope for idiots.
Oh, thank God.
and it's interesting. You're wired like me, and Bo's wired like my wife. And so you can imagine we have this thing we call heated fellowship. And it happens quite often because I'll be sharing my dreams. Oh, baby, here's what I'd love to do, what we could do. And she'll say, well, I said, talking to you sometime is like getting in the mood, and I set the candles out and the lights are low and things are magical. And then you flip on the fluorescence. I said, you're killing my mood. Nobody gets pregnant without excitement, and you're killing mine. And she'll have things like, oh, how are you going to pay for that? Who's going to insure that? How in the world will we ever get that approved? I said, baby, dreams take time. Don't be a dream squisher. Be a chance to get this thing going. So we had to learn to love one another because we're compatible opposites. And a lot of times, if you marry your compatible opposite, you either have to settle for the fact that you're never going to see things the same way, or to, instead of compete with one another, decide you're going to complete one another.
Absolutely.
And so my story is the story of a kid that was brought into a home of a very loving family. My mom and dad tried 13 years to have a child, couldn't, adopted me, and 18 months later had my little brother. My mom said all I ever wanted to do is be a mama. And so I was spoiled, 13 years old. It was the first time I really didn't hit the AB honor roll. And that was because I stepped across a line with a little girl and did something that they said I could never come back from. Something that I knew went against God and my family, and I started rebelling. And there's something about rebellion. Rebellion, when there's rules and regulations without a relationship, it always equals rebellion. And so I had built this relationship with my parents up until that time, but then I started building other relationships. 17 years old, I tried drugs for the first time, and my life went a whole different direction. Really, from 13, 14, and 15. At 15, I got my first business started, and that was high-end car audio. And I ended up making $1,000, $1,500 a week in cash after school. And back in the early mid-'80s, that was a lot of dang money.
Yeah, man.
Money and girls just tripped my breakers. I'd always wanted acceptance and wondered how to find it. And in both of those, money and girls, if you're accepted or not.
Wow.
And so, once I violated what I knew I shouldn't do, I never knew how to get back. And so from 17 to 23, worked hard, met my wife. Interesting story. I met my wife. I was dating this girl, moved to Auburn, Alabama, which is next door to Opelika. And the guy that I was collaborating with had a car stereo shop, and I had a shop where I installed the stereos behind him. And he said, that girl you got that ain't marriage material. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'll find you a wife. I said, okay, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. Well, he goes and finds my wife working at a Red Lobster, hires her, bets her $500 she couldn't take me away from the girl I was dating. And that's how and he was right on. He gave me an amazing wife. So at 20 something years old, we get married. Maybe she was 20, I was 21. And by 23, we were $1.5 million in debt, $99,000 overdrawn, going through a divorce, I drove my wife away because I told her she'd be the most important thing in the world and sold her on false advertising.
Oh,
Once I got her, I checked the box and kept moving. She ended up leaving me for one of our employees who happened to be one of our banker's sons.
mm.
And we ended up in the attic of my house, hooked on meth, fixing to hang myself. And God come and struck me like lightning and transformed me.
Hey, if you're new to commercial real estate investing, you probably know the feeling. Brokers, underwriting, raising capital, where do you even begin? And that's why CRE Investor Coach exists, to give new and emerging investors a clear step-by-step path to closing their first deal. I believe in this program so much, I actually joined the team as an adjunct faculty member. That's how committed I am to helping more people get into the space right now. Whether you want to go at your own pace with on-demand training, launch your first investment with expert coaching, or scale with a mastermind of other ambitious investors, there's a roadmap here for you. Inside, you'll learn how to define your investor identity, analyze deals with confidence, talk to brokers like a pro, raise capital, and build a real acquisition pipeline without all the guesswork. This is about building a business that blesses your life, not breaks your spirit. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and actually get in the game, check out the link in the show notes and start your journey today. Learn, launch, and scale with CRE Investor Coach. This episode is also brought to you by Site to Do Business, commercial real estate's most advanced toolkit, providing commercial real estate professionals like me with premier data, mapping, and marketing tools to win business and revolutionize decision-making. Visit stdb.com to learn more.
Not many people have this kind of experience, I've learned, but I was laying there on that old plywood floor looking at the rope, 14 foot up in the air, going to move the attic fan and hang myself. And the only fear I had was that the rope wouldn't hold. And what I've realized, the lie of the enemy when you're at that place of suicide, and construction's a business that has one of the highest suicide rates of all, is that he kept telling me, all I could hear in my head is kill yourself, take your life, take your life. But the Lord was saying something different. He was saying, don't kill yourself, die to yourself, and don't take your life, lay it down. And when I did, God come and transform me, and love got past the fence. And I've been shook up ever since. That was, 25 plus years ago. And still today, that is the driving force, is that God got a hold of an idiot. And he knew once he got me, I said, God, I'll serve you all the days of my life, no matter what.
Wow.
But please bring my wife home. So it took us 7 years to find one another again, slowly by slowly. Counseling 2 times a week, and just suffering and learning how to love God and love one another. And we found one another. And since then, my wife and I, as of 2 weeks ago, have had the privilege of God reconciling 209 marriages through our story.
That's incredible.
Yeah, when you were in that attic at that moment, did you? I don't know if I missed this or not. Did you grow up in the Christian faith? Like your parents?
I grew up in a Methodist church. My mom was like big involved in it. She was like the little youth group director, and I was a church of maybe 50 or 75 people or something in our community. But I didn't know Jesus from Abraham Lincoln. I thought he's some old dude that wore sandals, and I knew the Methodist church. I was thinking this is a good place for hot dogs and hot girls. Yeah. And that was all I was interested in. So I was almost vaccinated to the gospel, in the sense that I didn't know that there was an amazing God who loved me and that was been looking for me the whole time. And in that attic, love got past the fence. And I experienced the power of God so much so that I couldn't pick my pinky this high off the floor. It weighed 1,000,000 pounds. And for almost 2 solid hours, God poured his love out on me, and I got born again. And I wasn't even looking for that. Yeah. And I didn't quit drugs. They quit me.
Wow.
And so I don't know. It was just something that I've never heard of before or since, but it happened to me.
But it's like, yeah, because you said it's like, don't die to yourself. And I was just wondering.
It was the right thing. I knew my life wasn't worth living. And that's the thing. The lie of suicide is this life ain't worth living. Right. I shouldn't do this anymore. Right. But the solution is to lay your life down, because when you find your life, when you lose it, but when you lose it for his sake, you truly find it. And so I spent a year after I got born again. When I walked down the stairs, came back down there, I said, Ash, I got born again. She said, you're a liar. I've always been a liar. So I watched her go out on dates with somebody else for a year through the keyhole while God worked on my character.
Yeah.
And if you want to know what I got what I planted. And if you want to know what you're reaping today, it's what you were sowing yesterday. And if you don't like what you're reaping, you need to talk to the person doing the sowing.
Yeah. I'm kind of confused at how the context of dying to yourself, like, is that the context of...
You know you need to die, my friend. This life is not worth living. It's hopeless. And that's the twist of the enemy. He perverts the truth. He tells you, take your life. It's the only way to end this thing. But the way to end this thing is to end this thing, to lay down John's life and say, I'll tell you what I'll do. I picked up that and I said, God, I'll do whatever it says in this book to the best I know. And if you'll pour your love out on me like this continuously and speak to me, you got me. This is what I've been looking for my whole life. I've looked for it in drugs, alcohol, sex, money, everything that ever made me feel alive had you in it. And I want you.
Yeah. And that just came clear to you in that moment.
Dude, God loves idiots. That's his niche market.
Well,
He
yeah.
wants people that in no way could claim the sense to do the stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
And everything we're doing in real estate, I had no clue we were going to not only be a part of redeeming our city, but now be working in 12 or more small towns across the country, stewarding billions of dollars worth of assets, all with a redemptive real estate mindset.
Yeah.
We basically, I didn't know anybody did that. We did that because God put it on our heart to do sophisticated real estate development with love.
Thanks for sharing this with us. This is incredible backstory of and testimony.
When it took us 7 years to get back to zero, we got to zero. We didn't file bankruptcy, dude. We just dug.
Wow.
First way you do it, first way to get out of the hole, stop digging. And then you got to trust God. And I told him, I said, I'll honor you with every penny I touch. And I hadn't had one untithed or one honored penny since that day, my friend.
Yeah.
Now, we may not be all we could be, but we ain't what we were.
Yeah.
And when we got to zero, we're like, yes, zero. We thought we won the dang lottery.
Right. Freedom! Like Dave Ramsey, right? Yeah.
And then God began to work in our hearts and lives to show us that our town was broken. And there's beauty in broken things. You know, if you can realize that, you start seeing the world differently, that our God's a redeeming God and he's full of hope. If you've got hope in your future, there's power in your present.
Yeah. How did you get, so you said you were at one point $1 million in debt.
$1.5 million.
$1.5 million in debt. And so what, were you continuing to do stereos and cars?
I was doing rot repair on houses for $150 a day and with a crappy skill saw and a tan truck with a pull choke, you know.
Yeah.
And God began to work on my skill set. He began to show me that he had given me gifts. And so we started using those gifts. And one thing about it, if you believe the Bible, God says, test him in your money and see if you can outgive the giver. And so God had us during that time borrow to give.
Yeah.
And that tells you, if your life is not sprinkled with supernatural miracles, it's not because they're not available. It's because you're not aware.
Yeah. So you're doing as many jobs as you possibly can. And through that, your skill set is...
Starting to build. The first house we ever bought was, we got it for owner finance, no money down, and we had a total of $3,300 as our renovation budget.
Wow.
So we started with it crappy, and I mean, the floors were buckled up in this thing, looked like tumors because they did them out of old ping pong ball tables, and they done got wet, and they were bubbled up, and there were so many roaches on the wall, we just textured it with them, just to put them in it. And so we put this thing together, and we put our $3,300 in it, and then we had to start making them $200 a month payments after 90 days. And a man come by and bought it, gave us $15,000 more than what we had in it. And that's what's turned into what we have today. We own close to 200 properties in our 10 blocks, and we steward about $2 billion worth of real estate across the country.
Wow. That's crazy. We had a guest here last week that it was the same kind of story, as in what it started with flipping a house, right? And then that grew and grew, and then he went into multifamily, and now it's got, manages all these multifamily buildings. So it just sounds like flipping.
There's a skill set. If you want to know where your gifts are, they're not what you've been great at. It's underneath it. It's underneath it. See, I was doing car stereos. We were in the salvage car business when all this happened. We built totals and had a salvage yard. And I was gifted with my hands and vision, but it wasn't in cars or stereos or even houses. I've got a gift of vision from God, and I know the 4 things that he's supernaturally gifted me in doing. Now, you've got to be very aware and start really working at what has God designed me to do. I mean, David, that guy could put a rock in a sling and do something with it. Well, my rock's in a shepherd boy sling. There's 4 things I do that when I do it, it has supernatural power. And that's when I help people grow personally, love God passionately, do good work purposefully, or live intentionally. If I do that, I'm way better than I should be. And so when you find your place of favor, show up there. And so everything I'm doing today, I've got favor. I say, come to our city. And if we're not way better than we should be, it ain't God. God's like above how good you are. It ought to be supernatural. You ought to say, you can't do this. It's like, perfect. Now you're seeing it.
You flip the house and then you continue to flip houses.
Well, I started realizing houses are like cars with plumbing. You know, I was doing cars and people were very, very picky about every little detail. They do a house and they're way less picky and it sits still. And I'm like, oh, there's way. Who knew that there was money in property? I had no clue. I just thought it was cool.
Right.
We just get I go pick up a truckload of drug addicts and broken people from the work release, and we'd get out every day. I'd be telling them about Jesus, and we'd be working on stuff. And that's how it started.
Wow.
I started working on properties and started doing construction. I had 15 jobs going. Then the city stopped me and said, whoa, you ain't got any license. I said, nobody told me I needed them.
Yeah.
I had to go get them.
So the moment you flipped your first house into where we are now, what's that time frame?
Man, I'm bad at years. So
me too.
Best guess of mine, I'd say probably 25 years, 20 something years.
25 years. Yeah. And so now.
And what it taught me was that see, there's something about when I worked on cars and in stereos, you work in multiple different. Think of a car. A car's got an AC system. It's got a compressor. It's got a water system that keeps it cool. It's got an electrical system. It had all the basic systems. So I understood when we came over to houses. And so one of the first things we started doing, I said, man, look at this historic heart pine all over the South. And these trees grew from Adam till we cut them. They're like $100 bills inside these places and nobody sees it. I said, so I just started going there and say, hey, they'll give you a house. I said, well, let's take the $100 bills out. We're pulling out truckloads of lumber every day. And I stacked up 18 tractor trailer boxes of heart pine in no time. And we started using that to work. Then we started disassembling houses, unbuilding them backwards, numbering them, moving them and reassembling them, houses up to 8,000 foot. And so I was just like today, I'm super curious and interested.
Yeah.
And so what it's evolved to is just the beginning to see the Bible says the steps of a righteous man are ordered of God. That means set up. And so he had me set up. All I had to do is just keep listening to him do the next thing on the journey that looked like a detour, and stuff started working. But if you want to know if he's in it, you better be looking for favor, because that's what you know. There ought to be breadcrumbs all the way on the trail.
What do you mean? What does that mean, looking for favor?
Well, think about this. I'd say God gave me 10 square blocks. I thought he maybe gave me 12. I'd go 2 blocks over and stuff didn't work. It don't take a genius to say, come back over here. It's working over here. Don't work over there. Works over here.
I got you.
So you have to try it for yourself. Where are your areas of favor? Where are you better than you should be? What works? And you go, God, I flew to Europe not long ago, and I go to Italy. We had a heck of a tailwind. We made it in 7 hours. We come back, it's 11. I want to be going to 7 direction.
Yeah.
What you got a tailwind in?
It's trying things, pushing the boundaries, and being very aware that when you of going too far. And
when it's working, like when it's easier than it should be, when stuff works. Like for us, when I work on a building in these 10 square blocks within the framework of favor, I believe, which we want things that are only unloved, unwanted, and have tons of problems. We never, ever, ever have extracted value. We've only created it. I'm not smart enough to go in there and do a mathematical thing like most people and try to, have the right cap rate in and out and all these little nuances. They're just money managers. They're not people who come in. When we buy something nobody wants, I say, put it on the market for a year and call me if nobody gives me an offer.
Yeah.
Because one of our guys said, we're turd polishers. Yeah. And that's our gift. We know how to take stuff that nobody wants and turn it into something that everybody wants.
Yeah. I mean, that's your story personally.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I could take that and apply it to most anything. We've applied it. We started 67 businesses over our marriage.
Wow.
And it's all been about just us taking and seeing beauty in broken things, seeing value where people don't care. And that's what I call the real estate we work on now. I've coined the word irreplaceable. Built by people who don't live anymore, with methods we don't do anymore, materials I can't get anymore, and entitlements they would never approve anymore. That's irreplaceable.
That's awesome. You have such a clear vision as you're going through. Are you doing just houses, or is there a multifamily aspect to this?
We do
Is it all?
anything in 10 square blocks. So we just completed, we were investors and helped create our largest multifamily investment in our downtown's history. We just completed a $43 million multifamily that has 200 units, and it's beautiful. 4-story, masonry outside, fabulous stuff. That's next door to our campus. And what we're working on now, our work has evolved, and we can talk about that, from doing these little projects to doing bigger projects to understanding the 10 square blocks to doing everything in the 10 square blocks, from residential, commercial, light industrial, you name it. If it's in those 10 blocks, it's our stewardship area. To learning what it means to be what we've coined a patron, a person of peace who loves a place and has a long-term commitment to it. To then beginning to steward these 10 square blocks from being just properties that were an opportunity to a portfolio, a group of properties, to what we now consider the focus, which is a platform. Your iPhone is a platform for doing business. Well, we take our real estate and turn it into a platform for human flourishing, and we measure it: social, spiritual, and economic capital. And so that's one thing. There was no models, and there's still not. I don't know anyone in the real estate business that's doing what we're doing, and I know most everyone that's doing what we're trying to do. We have done this over 2.5 decades, improved without a penny of outside capital, that God cares about real estate and he cares about places. And so we are passionate about that. We're passionate about teaching people about that. And we believe there's hope for small town America. God put on my heart years ago, who is America without small towns? And what are we going to do about it? And I said, well, God, why do you care about small towns? I said, why do you even care? And he's like, sent Jesus to Bethlehem. That's a small town. In small towns, you're known. You got a dent in your car, they know it. You paint a building the wrong color, they know it. You get in a fuss with your wife, they probably know that too. So there's something about transparency and authenticity and beauty in small towns, and we're losing them by the truckload. And I don't see anything that gives hope for a small town. Most of the people that tell us they do, well, you put a factory there. That doesn't work. One of our clients has got a factory of 3,000 in a town of 3,500 and is still dying. He said, well, we need a rich person. Well, one of our clients spent $110 million on a town of 800 and couldn't make it grow. So it's like putting out a forest fire with $100 bills. It don't work. And I believe maybe the next great move of God may be through developers. I mean, I just think there's something powerful about creating value and not trying to extract it.
One of the things I was struck with the first time we spoke, you didn't actually say this, but what I picked up from our initial conversation was you see the value in real estate in terms of its impact on people. And I wonder if you talk a little bit about that, because like, man, you do restaurants. Restaurants are hard. I've seen these entrepreneurs, they all want to try to do a restaurant.
Right.
And they almost all fail, you know, but you've succeeded at that.
And we're trying
the
again.
hospitality, and like you're creating experiences so that you can love on people through real estate. And just talk a little bit about that, because you know, most people get into real estate because they see people driving nice cars and they want to have this kind of freedom, and it looks like it's fun and it's lucrative. But man, you don't get that sense at all when you talk to you. You get the sense that it's about the people that the real estate serves.
Well, if you've ever been broke and stupid, we have, then we realize that real estate has the power. I mean, even a home, having your own home changes your life. And so one of mine and Ash's gifts and when we look at our ultimate lifestyle, it's giving away a number of homes a year. And we've started doing that, giving away homes, because it's one way we can use our gifts to change people's lives. Single moms, broken people that would never have their own home, and helping them get there. But the reason is God cares about places. I mean, I think we get to heaven, it's going to look like a TBN set. Things going to have fat trim and beautiful stuff, great windows. I mean, look at his description of the temple. It was not a half-hearted description.
You're right.
And so I think God's a great builder. So I see God in his goodness inside of people and places. And if you want to know what God's about, it's people and places. He knows who you are. He knows where you live, and he knows why he put you there. And either this thing's a runaway train or there's a king in heaven that loves you. And people tell me, so well, I don't know if God's real. I said, I can tell you how to find out if you want to. And I said, what? I said, get down on your hands and knees and start telling him how good he's been till he meets you. He'll show up. And then what you gonna do? Well, you better do what he says. And I said, because that's what God's interested in. If he ain't talking to you, it's because the last thing he told you to do, you didn't do it. And delayed obedience is disobedience. He's standing right back there at the last thing. He said, I want you to do this. And you knew it because you didn't want to do it. So it's just hearing God and moving. This thing's so easy. I mean, got to be dumb, though. You smart people get screwed in this thing. They're too smart. But let me go back to the real estate piece. So what God began to show me is that he cares about places. And he draws lines in the sand, literally. He said, watch this piece of dirt, watch that piece of dirt. This is under your control. I want you to subdue it and be a blessing in it. The Bible says that when a righteous man's in leadership, the city is blessed. And so we said, we're going to be a blessing to our city. We're going to love 10 square blocks. Once we realize we're the place of our faith, we're going to love it for our whole life. We dedicate our whole life here. And so that, before it was ever successful, gave us a sense of something. And nobody can compete with me in them 10 square blocks. I know everybody's mama who cheated on somebody else, and that's why the property line moved. I know where the water lines are. I know everything about these 10 square blocks. And Warren Buffett can't come here and do nothing but waste money if he wants to go against me, because I know my area and I know what I'm about. So the closer your contact, the bigger your impact. And so what we said is you can't. So when I'm an idiot, broke and stupid, God showed me the answers in fishes and loaves. So it's a little boy's Happy Meal that set this whole thing off for me. And what I realized is he said, okay, what have we got? And they said, a couple of fishes and loaves. He said, great. How many do we have? Then he said, sit the men down in groups of 50. He blessed it. He broke it, and God multiplied it. And so I said, oh, this seemed like a framework here. So I started realizing, why did God have me write every penny I touched down in them little books in my pocket right after I got born again? Because I told him, I said, listen, I suck with money here now. I want to tell you how stupid I was with money. I bought a laser disc player at 26% interest and was still making payments, and they had stopped making laser discs.
Oh, wow.
Well, you're not talking to a financial genius here. So what God showed me, he said, if you'll measure that stuff and you'll manage it, I'll multiply it. And I began to believe that's the framework that God works in. And now we have a tool we share with all the couples we help and within our clients that we created called the 5 F's. And I think, because if you don't have a plan, that is a plan. It's just a crappy one. Okay? So here's our 5 F's: faith, family, fun, fitness, and finance. And I tell you, if you want to honor God, you better have a sophisticated plan for all 5. And most people don't have that. And then secondly, they're certainly not husband and wife unified. Let me give you a little quiz. We do all of our couples that we help. And so we've helped reconcile, by God's grace, 209 couples, as in a couple of weeks ago. And that means we spent a lot of time with thousands of couples. I mean, imagine watching Star Wars 1,000 times and you tell me what you'd know. You'd know all the words. I always tell Ashes, this is like watching car wrecks in slow motion. Because people have the same problems. But what we realized is, to get unified, Psalms 103 says a place of unity is a place of commanded blessings. And most couples are just a couple. Now, this isn't a business. When we talk about business, all of our principles work all the way through. But ask, if you said we got $10, $10,000, or $10 million left at the end of the year, you tell your wife, write your top 3 priorities. Don't tell me. I'll write my top 3, and you see how many of them match. We ain't never seen a match unless somebody's working on that. And we ain't never met a couple that worked on it before we got to them. And we're talking about people that some of them have hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're still ununified on simple things. And so the key is to bring unity. And so that's what we've done personally. And then we do that in our business. So our business, when we focus on human flourishing, we have a definition for flourishing that drives what we do. And our definition of flourishing is when the people that have the least are experiencing the most. A place is flourishing. I don't know if I answered what you said, but that's what we did do an interesting rabbit trail.
Yeah, I'm getting I'm beginning to understand more. The more you talk, the more I'm understanding how this is all going. Because I'm thinking of, a lot of people that are listening that might not be Christian or have faith or understand what you understand here. And so when you say things like, God is telling me you got to listen to God, there's going to be so many people that are like, wait, what is
I'm hearing a thundering voice of somebody in my
Right.
ear, like a deep, great voice. No, it's I didn't get the church thing. It never meant anything to me. It was like a country club with big dues and no fun.
Yeah.
It just sucked, and a lot of them still suck, and that's why people aren't running in there, And there wasn't a huge place for idiots either. Like, it's better come in cleaned up enough. I mean, the first time we went to the Baptist church, and not against the Baptists because they helped us a ton, but we go to this Bible study, and this newlyweds. We're sitting in the room, and me and Ash, first time we go anywhere, we fuss all the way there, F-wording each other. We get in there and like, any prayer requests? They're like, us. I said, well, my wife just left me, and I hate her, and we've been having this trouble, but we want to try to follow God and all this. And I just heard all the chairs go, and the reason is because most of their prayer request was unspoken, or my cousin's toe in Idaho. Well, we're screwed up as a sack of hammers, Chinese phone book, and we're in there telling them everything that's going on, and we're hurting. And we're like, we need help, folks, more than just read your Bible and pray. I need something I can do something with now. And so if my feet don't line up with my mouth, don't listen to anything I'm saying. And so what I began to realize is there was this voice speaking inside of me I used to call my conscience that got awakened the day I believed. And that's what I listened to. And when I miss it, I just eat crow, repent, turn around. And I eat a lot of crow. I taste feathers a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because I'm making dumb dang decisions. I'm an idiot that got saved, and I still got tons of problems. So it's can you be true? Is there a creator or not? And if it is, does he love you or not? And what happened to me is I experienced more love than I could ever get out of drugs and alcohol and sex in one experience with God. And like I said, if you want to know him, just get down on your knees and keep talking to him until he shows up. Then you won't have to ask these questions. And if you don't believe it, that's cool. If you don't want what I got to wonder what I have.
Here's what I see. I see that you know your purpose. You have a very strong purpose, a very strong why for everything that it is that you do. You have incredible intention. Everything you do is with intention. You get very specific, whether it's communicating with your wife and being on the same page and through that, it creates unity in everything that you do. Because of that intention, because of the specificity to the way that you manage what you have, and you know exactly
we measure it and we manage it. Remember, I can tell you every penny and I can tell you, I laughed the other day. I was showing somebody, the app on your phone, MyFitnessPal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
MyFitnessPal, I believe God wanted me to track my food because he said, if you're going to steward your health, I ain't going to be a 300 pounder and people realize that God's working in my health in a big way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want that guy to teach me about health. He could teach me about something else, but I don't want what he's got. And so with my finances or my faith, well, here's my thing. I've got 2,229 days straight. I hadn't missed tracking my food one day.
Wow.
That tells you what I believe about it. And I'm not saying I'm smart. I'm just saying I'm a drug addict that got saved. And I was always born to be addicted. I was just addicted to the wrong stuff.
Right.
And now that I got it pointed right, the things work. And I thought serving God was a crappy life and an ugly wife living in a trailer, but God loves you. But I said, Lord, I'd like a hot wife and a good life if you got them available. Why not? The world ain't going to say, man, I wish I had me an ugly one like him.
Right.
And man, he gave me everything I dreamed of and more. And I said, I don't know. I wasn't looking for this, guys. He found me. I didn't find him. I didn't walk an aisle and pray a prayer. But once I started applying it to my life, I get up every day feeling like a mosquito in a nudist colony. There's opportunity everywhere. I don't know where to quit. I'm just like, baby, I'm tripping breakers. There's broken stuff everywhere. There's opportunity. I mean, banks will loan you money if you could prove to them you could do this whole thing. It's just like a magical system. I was born in America. God bless America, man. And I didn't have people say, why didn't you raise capital? I said, nobody told me I could. I didn't know no rich people, and nobody said you could do that. If they would have told me, I would have. I thought you either had to have the money or borrow it. That's the only two framework I had up until a decade or so ago.
That's right. So many people think that. So many people think that. And what you were a great example of taking action. There's such a misconception of people outside of Christianity that are like, oh, they just pray and passively wait for God to
do all the stuff for you. You think God will give you abs?
No,
dude. You got to work for them babies. Everybody can do it. You can watch it on YouTube, but doing the work's different. And as my health, I put on 30 pounds of muscle the last 4 years as a 50-something-year-old man. That ain't easy.
Wow.
But I have a dang good plan. I've got nutritionists, therapists, counselors, trainers, and medical doctors all on a team working on my plan for my fitness. I've got one for all 5 F's, and our plans are sophisticated. I can tell you exactly what we're trying to accomplish, how we're going to measure it. You know, when you put a number on something you can measure, we've got this survey, and it's free online on our couple section for anybody that wants. It's called our 5 F survey. So it asks you about 10 questions about each of your 5 F's and gives you a peace index, a score on each one of those. If you and your wife do it, you compare it, you go, well, dang, how's my money a 80 and hers is a 60 or vice versa? But if I ask you how good your sex life 1 to 10, and it's a 2, that ain't good. We're getting some zeros. I don't want that. But what do? How do I make my 3 a 4 and my 4 a 5? That's what it's about. And so it helps you codify them by numbers. And that's why Jesus, he tells you how many fishes he put in the system and how many came out of the system. So I measure, manage, multiply the 5 F's. That's what I've done. If you want to know how we look at everything, the first thing we do, restaurant business, we measure everything. Our P&L, I can tell you how much we got in napkin wrappers. I can tell you how much we did in waste. We make them put the waste in a clear bucket and take a picture of it, how many fries were wasted or whatever. And so what we begin to do is if you can measure it and manage it, God will multiply it, because that's called stewardship, measuring and managing. And we are stewards of these 10 square blocks.
So would you say that your experience of measuring and managing to the level that you're doing now was your finances after that moment in the attic?
That was the number one.
That was the first. And
it's the most broken.
Right. And then
God just told me to keep up with everything he entrusted to me. And I just said, well, I'll write it all down. And once you start writing it down, you start going, man, I don't know if it's worth it to do this. I don't know if I do need a new VCR. I don't know if I do need to finance this car. Or I don't know if I do need this or that. You start, whatever you measure and manage, you begin to get clear on, and God begins to work the priorities through you. And so in our portfolio, like, we look at a lot of things. So we have residential and mixed use commercial. And now what we're building is our biggest development we've ever built. It's 67 boutique hotel rooms, 8 restaurants, and 3 event spaces on one campus. And I believe this will be the future work of the next season of our life, is building a model that saves small towns. And I think this will save small towns from 800 to 80,000 people. And what we're building, I've codified as a land-based cruise ship.
Wow.
So what we realized is overnight stay, iconic food and beverage, and celebratory events. Those 3 together are have much more potential and power to multiply economic, social, and spiritual capital than any one of them alone. We all know a town that has a great restaurant in it, but nothing else. We know a town that has a little boutique hotel, but nothing else. We know a town that has an event space, but nothing else. We know towns that have all 3, but when they're owned and stewarded in a mindset like an urban resort, or we call them diffuse hospitality resort, we turn historic small towns into diffuse hospitality resorts that, in my opinion, can produce returns that'll blow your socks off, social, spiritual, and economic.
Wow. So this is, and you're saying this is the endeavor that you're embarking on right now?
We've launched 2 restaurants in the last 4 months. We've got 3 event spaces. We've got 7 rooms, launching another 7. So we're doing a $30 million development over the next 48 months that will codify all this, and it will be the future model for what we're going to invest in. And how do we, when we go consult with other towns, we're looking for a patron. That's a person of peace who loves a place. I won't work in a town that doesn't have one of those. People say, you come to my town. And I said, well, it's like, I said, it ain't going to be, it's got to be somebody's town. You got to be a somewhere person, not an anywhere person. For us, you got to make a commitment for a decade or more to the flourishing of that place.
Okay.
There's 5 eyes we need on that team, and these are all different giftings, usually represented by 5 different people. So we need a person of peace leading these 5 eyes. We need to have someone who has a gift of influence, someone who is implicated, someone who will intercede, and someone who will make the investment. And these gifts have to be lined up in such a way that you can grow the town. So it's ideas, influence, implication, investment, and intercession. And so once you have someone that's gifted in all 5 of those eyes, led under a person of peace, we believe that place is going to work.
What do you mean when you say implication?
So, like, I'm implicated to Opelika. My heart's tied here, and you can't convince me to go anywhere else, even if I belly flop.
Gotcha.
So it's a commitment. And the intercession, in a worldly sense, is someone who will stand in the gap for you. In a spiritual sense, I want the widow with 2 mites handling our generosity, and I want a lady or a man of prayer on their knees praying for what we're doing.
With what you've opened up so far, is that in Opelika or is that in another town?
Well, we're doing boutique hotels in towns right now. We're doing restaurants in towns. We're launching a restaurant in Midland, Texas right now. We're launching one in Momence, Illinois for patrons. We've got a boutique hotel going in Marianna, Florida right now. We've got 12 cities that we're stewarding close to $100 million worth of real estate right now, where we play the general contractor for vision. We take the vision of the patron and sit over it and help them bring a multidisciplinary approach. And if you want to know why our things work so good, guys, is we have the whole stack. We dream it, we draw it, we design it, we build it, and we operate it. That's Disney. Disney is sophisticated real estate development in a swamp.
Yep.
But the programming is what makes it. You pull that thing off, it don't work.
Yeah. If somebody listening to this is like, oh, this would be considered a person of peace, how do they become a patron? How do they reach out to you? Like, how would they get this started if they're hearing this from the first time? And they're
maybe go to our podcast is Redemptification. So think gentrification, redeem. People kept saying, you gentrify. I said, I don't gentrify. I don't know what I do, but I don't like that. Yeah. And so what I realized, when we go into the most broken neighborhoods in our city, we connect with the grandmas, because they know who's good and bad. We don't have to guess, and we do what they say. But we come in and create value. We don't buy anything that someone owns and wants to live in. We buy things that are unwanted, unloved, or broken.
Yeah, okay.
So all we're doing is adding value. We're going to make everything y'all guys own worth more. Now, if they sell, that's up to them, and they do usually, because they believe they never had any value in their home, and then it's worth 20 times what they ever thought. And so sometimes they'll get the value out of that for their family. But we're in the business of stewarding and loving places for generations. And we have a 75-year plan for our city that me and our family, and I have the privilege of both of my sons and both my daughter-in-laws working with us daily. And so to find a places of agreement between 2 generations is not easy, and to leverage each other's giftings. And that's what we do. And, but we believe there's a lot of money if you can vertically integrate a lot. And so, you create a plan that has all the social, spiritual, and economic, KPIs in it. It's baked into the beginning. And most people don't do that, because what they try to do is figure out how much money they can make and not how much they should make. And there's a difference in could and should,
Yep.
And we are making investments that make your Sunday school teacher and your economics teacher happy. And I don't know anyone else doing it, honestly. I wish there was. And if you're out there, please call me, because I want to have a heck of a conversation with you.
Where do you find these people of purpose, the patrons? What?
Don't find me. I've never found anyone.
Gotcha. And they say, hey,
Somebody told me, I heard about what you were doing. I said, well, come and see. That's what Jesus would say, come and see. If what we're doing is not a miracle, I wouldn't believe it. Come and see.
And then,
We're saying real.
right. And then do you go to, and so say this person contacts you, you say, come and see. They come and see, and then y'all are talking. They're like,
We have three things we offer. First thing we offer is an intensive, which is our eyes on their prize. And so we'll either go to there or they come to us, and we spend 2 days eyeball to eyeball laying out the social, spiritual, and economic framework of it, getting the box top and proving to you that the money and the methods can work under these guidelines through our lens. So imagine you have somebody who's got 30 years in real estate and all these disciplines looking at this deal and putting it together for you. And we put the deal together, basically. And then if they want to go further, we do what we call as a plan, which is to build about a 6-month deal. And we build a full plan. Usually we don't do it for one building. We do it for people who are doing something of substance. You know,
Sure.
We're our westernmost town is Battleground, Washington. We're in Colorado, 3 towns in Texas, Illinois. We're our biggest city is Winter Haven, Florida. They've been with us 7 years, and they purchased basically 80 blocks of downtown Winter Haven. It's a $200 million portfolio. 80 blocks. And we helped them raise $80 million from 60 locals to do it. And so we know this works at scale. We're seeing these pieces. And for us, we believe we want to devote our time to this model of a land-based cruise ship, because I think the returns can be I think the cash on cash returns could be 20 to 30% easy.
Wow.
And nobody can say that and do good too, that I know of.
Yeah.
Do you remember what cash on cash is?
Of course I know cash on cash.
Okay.
I told him I wasn't going to talk a lot about real estate terms. I don't know, but when it comes, I'm not a Oh yeah, he's pulling the dictionary.
He pulled out the book that actually has a glossary in it, is what he
That's
just
smart.
did.
Yes, this is James Nelson's book, The Insider's Edge, that has a whole glossary in the back. I can tell you what cash on cash return is. It's a calculation of the cash flow from the property dividend by the amount of equity you have in the investment.
Oh, so you want me to translate that for you?
Will you translate
that for me? I don't think that helps you at all.
I was like, well, this really helps if I've got you next to me. That particular one.
Cash on cash is you take the money that you've got in a deal. That's
Yeah.
your denominator. And then in a year, you take the money you got out of it. Like, what did it pay you back? That's the numerator.
Yeah.
And so if you got $100,000 in a deal and that deal pays you $20,000 in a year, you just made a 20% cash on cash return. 20,000 divided by 100,000, 20%. That's your cash on cash.
Gotcha.
That's
Let
a
me tell you
ridiculous.
What woke me up to the real estate side of this. So think about this.
Yeah.
Every time a deal works for us, we start getting rent, and we start winning when we get rent, right?
Yes.
So we get rent, we get paid for doing the construction, but then when we have operations that have a profit, and the profit from operational businesses a lot of times, especially food and beverage and stuff, maybe you consider the value of that 3 to 5 times the earnings. So if it makes $1 million a year, it's worth $3 million a year to $5 million. I mean, it is what the value of the business. What I realize though is and what all the big resorts do, when you push operational income down into rents, the value of the property goes up, right? And so what's the difference in an operational income and pushing it into rents gets valued at a cap rate? And I'd much rather have a cap rate than I had a multiple. And so what we do is we push operational incomes down into rents with a base rent that's at market and then a percentage-based rent that ratchets based on the gross.
Can you break that down for me?
Yes. This episode is sponsored in part by Site to Do Business, the ultimate commercial real estate data analysis and mapping tool. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, Site to Do Business provides the data and insights you need to make informed decisions and close deals faster. Frankly, it's the tool that I use the most in my business. Access comprehensive market analysis, demographic data, and powerful mapping tools like ArcGIS, Placer AI, and flood maps all in one place. Identify the best locations for your clients, analyze market trends, and present your findings with confidence. Don't miss out on this game-changing platform. Visit stdb.com today and see how it can optimize your business. And now back to the show. Yeah, so we've talked about cap rates a lot.
Yes.
Okay. And when he was talking about pushing operations down into rents, it didn't translate to me until he said that last sentence.
Okay.
He uses percentage rent Now, I don't know that we've talked about percentage rent before, but a lot of retailers will go with percentage rent. And essentially what it says is there's going to be a base rent, and then there's a certain break point, which can be natural or artificial. That doesn't matter.
Okay.
And so whatever they make over this break point, the landlord gets a percentage of that revenue as additional percentage rent. And that allows retailers to oftentimes pay below market rent and protect their downside, while if they do really well, then they can pay out of their revenues and the landlord does better. So it's a way to mitigate risk for a tenant and for a landlord to achieve greater gains if the tenant does really well. So what they're doing is they're paying a base rent that's market rate anyway.
Yeah.
And then after a certain break point or whatever, however they define it, there's percentage rent on top of that, which means the rent goes after you take out expenses. What do you end up with?
Profit.
Well, what do we call it in commercial real estate?
Cash on cash.
Say net operating income.
Net operating income.
And then you capitalize the net operating income to get the value of a property. So what they're doing,
I can double click on this one more time. So we take these base rents. A restaurant, the hardest thing in the world to do is to get to break even. Okay. So we set our base rents up to a break even and make it really favorable for them. Do a lot of TI and tenant improvements with our money and get to a break even. And then we ratchet the percentage base rents. The first million may be at 7% above break even. The second may be at 10 and the third may be at 12. Well, the thing about the restaurant business, you may make 10% of if you have $1 million restaurant, you probably make $100,000 if you're real good. If you have a $2 million restaurant, you may make $250,000. And if you're a $3 million restaurant, you make 500, because you don't pay more after a certain place for air conditioned power, all these things. So what we do is we align their winning with our winning. And now anytime they need anything that helps them win more, we're interested. Man, if we had a little back patio here, we could do like, I remember one time I talked to our city. I said, I want to put a patio out front and there's 2 parking spots. And they said, well, we'll do that. And they let me put it in there. Well, those 2 parking spots added $285,000 in top line sales to the restaurants.
Wow.
And so we understand from a investor, from a landlord, from an operator, we're aligning unity, all the things for success. And that is the key to what I'm talking about. And that's the reason, I mean, and secondly, the construction's like putting out forest fires with $100 bills every day. I mean, it's like going to the grocery store hungry and everything's $100,000. So what we do, and I go in there, and every town we're in, we can cut money off the construction, because I go to the oldest guy on the construction site and I said, let me tell you something. Tell me what we're doing stupid. And dude, he'll lay me out the things. Doing this, shouldn't do this. And that's how we win. Because I'm humble enough and crazy enough to ask the people who really do the work, not the guy driving the Escalade, what's happening.
Right. That's how everybody should work with ChatGPT, by the way. Tell me what I'm doing stupid. Anywho, yeah, that's a great way to get ChatGPT to work for you really well.
So when you do this, imagine these diffused hospitality. If you've got a McDonald's in your town, you got $1.5 million, $2 million store. That's what if you got a Subway, that thing's a $700,000 or $800,000 store. So you start talking about this revenue, and even in a town of 3,000, we can build restaurants that do $2 million a year. And so I'm just saying we're missing the point. When you vertically integrate it, everybody, the investor gets a little piece, and the GP piece, and the LP piece, limited and general partner. There's all these little pieces. Well, pretty soon you're getting eat up by piranhas. You line that whole thing up, and if I could make 10 on the whole thing and not 2, 4, 3, 6, 7, 3, then I can do something. And that's where we built the margin in these things. We do for our clients what we call bridging documents. We design, dream, and draw the project, pretty much everything that takes all that out of the way before it ever goes to an architect. Then we get their input on life safety and these other things. But architects aren't great at building, guys. They ain't never done it. They get paid fees. And I'm not against architects. I'm just saying if they knew what I knew, they would do what I do, because it's way cooler.
When you hear all this, Bo, is it something that is inspiring a new way to look at things as either an investor or a broker or someone that maybe not so much here in the town, but you know what I'm asking here?
Yeah, like, do I listen to John and want to be the John Marsh of Owensboro?
Not so much. That's not exactly what I'm asking, but
Can you eat the fish and spit out the bones, or is it a carp? Is there meat in this thing for you to help you do what you do better?
I'll tell you,
yeah,
the one thing he said so far that just won't stop bouncing around my head
yeah,
is that God cares about places. I've never considered that in my life.
Wow.
It's always been about people and the place. But like, he's right. And if you look at the blueprint he gives of the temple that David's to build,
Yeah.
and you look at that, I mean, it is intricate. The detail there is phenomenal. If you look at a model of the tabernacle as it is described, Bob Warren used to have one. He had this model. I mean, it is exquisite detail. And it's never occurred to me that God cares about places like that. Because, well, as I follow that thought through, I've never once had a conversation with a person outside of a place.
Well, sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's a duh statement, but I've never thought about it before.
Yeah. Right.
Like, everything has occurred in a space.
Yeah.
And whether it's an office, whether it's in a Zoom meeting room, whether it's outside, whether it's taking a walk, every single one of those places is a place.
Right. Sure. Sure.
And it's that's what I keep just chewing on this whole time. Like, look, more than any other episode we've done, I have been watching and listening to you and John have a conversation here. It's been captivating.
Yeah.
I think I've said less words in this episode than ever, and I've loved every second of it. But as soon as he said God cares about places, it's just been, the rest of this is a little bit of a blur for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just chewing on that idea. Like, how does that change the way I do business? Because I have, I don't know what the word is exactly, but I have minimized the impact of place in my own thinking. It's about the people. It's always about the people.
Right.
And it's still about the people, and if God really cares about places like that, then what you can do is you can create experiences for people in those places that have a greater impact.
Yeah.
Now you're hitting it. One thing we say, what makes the greatest impact on what you believe? An experience. The attic of that house changed me. You look at Abraham, he kept, his wiener stopped working, and God said, you're going to make a baby. And he's like, whoa, this thing don't work. So he goes out, finally he's having a little trouble. He tries it with a maidservant. That was a mess up. He got on a detour, had to circle back. But then he's standing on a starry night, and God has him look at the stars, and he says, count the stars. And Abraham said, I can't do it. He said, that's how your seed will be. That's how many kids your generations. And so that experience changed Abraham. Never had that conversation again. And so one thing I think, in the place thing, what I learned going to Israel, Mount Moriah, where the temple was, that's where Abraham was right there beside that. Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac, and he saw the ram in the bush, and God said, God will provide. That's Mount Moriah, same place. Long time before. And then you think David goes up there, buys that threshing floor because the Lord is sending a plague across the land, and it stops there. And so that place is significant. Israel's God's timepiece, okay? And he loves places. He loves Israel. He loves that little patch of ground. And I think we're called to love and redeem and bless the places we're called to. People ought to look at us and go, man, if we had more folks like that, this place would be better.
Yeah. I like how, bringing up Abraham and his wiener not working, I like how we kind of circled all the way back all the way back around to hot dogs and hot chicks.
See, it's all tied in there. And just think, God made the whole process of sex, which takes him to the next level for me. I'm like, God, I like the way you think. It's strange. You come up with some wild stuff, but dude, you got it going.
Yeah. Yeah. Hair.
tell us a little bit about the Marsh Collective. Is this what you're describing when you were talking about how somebody will reach out to you, and then if you're going to jump in there and help them, you're looking for a patron, somebody who can lead those 5 eyes. Is that describing what the Marsh Collective does?
Yes. It's a group of companies, but it's basically to support people who love a place and who are people of peace and that want to work at the intersection of purpose and profits. I mean, again, Bo, tell me, does your models when you're framing them up to do your deals, do they have all the social, spiritual, and economic capital baked into the system? Probably not. I never saw a model like this. It took us 25 years to get a model I really believe in. And it took it by us learning with our own money. Like I said, we have done the work with conventional financing only for almost 30 years to build an unusual portfolio. And so even like, let's go back to that percentage-based rent. The way we got the banks to understand it is we have a percentage-based rent that looks at it. It's a base rents plus a percentage, but every year at the end of the year, that ratchets to a new base. Because banks only want to loan on base rents, not percentage. So we had to craft our ideas. So that's why it's so powerful to see it as an investor, to see it as a steward, to see it as a builder, and to see it as an operator. You've got all the lenses. When we build a model, we start with the operator model, not the investor model. So I'm going to build a mixed-use development that's got a restaurant, a retail store, and say a residential. We'll build the restaurant model, and so we know what they can afford to pay before we build the rest of it, so everybody's fitting into a unified model. Yep. Does that make sense, instead of going the other direction, leaving a space and hoping the guys can survive in it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's your other supernatural power when you're living in it. Your bumper sticker communication. It's incredible.
It is incredible.
Well, it's just trying to stick I want to put a lot in a little, and I care deeply about whether or not, if you leave this and you did not get anything, I would have failed if you didn't leave and go, you know what? Something that was said actually meant something to me. And that's what I'm grateful for. You're investing your time if you're listening to this. And I tell you what, I want it to be a good investment.
Where can people find you? If you're going to point any of our listeners to connect with you, or where would you?
MarshCollective.com.
MarshCollective.com. And are you on social media?
Sure am. Yeah.
Would it be Marsh Collective or John Marsh?
Yeah. Facebook's John Marsh, the rest Marsh Collective. And then we have so many companies and scattered out. I mean, even our website, it tells you generally what we do, but it's hard because we're a dang unicorn.
Sure.
And we're looking for unicorns. So, right. It's hard to describe what we're doing because it's so multifaceted. I mean, if you meet me today, you may think this guy seems like an evangelist, or maybe he's a real estate guy. Well, we helped you reconcile your marriage, you'd think we're marriage folks, or if, you know what I'm saying? It just depends on where you intersect with us. But my thing is, I'm an ambassador of hope everywhere I go. And that's what I'm called to do. If you leave this and you don't have more hope for your future, I absolutely failed.
Well, you have not failed. Before we wrap this up, I do want to ask you about Capital Camp, because I was listening to your podcast, which is called Redemptification, which I would highly suggest anybody take a look at. And I actually forget the name of the guy you were interviewing.
Sure, my friend.
Yes. Awesome. And at the end of that, he starts talking about Capital Camp. And so I'm going to be there along with my partner, Brad Arns, in our Hearthstone Capital Company. We're going there in November. But you've been, I don't know what to expect. Tell me a little bit about Capital Camp.
Well, it's amazing. It keeps evolving. It'll be Main Street together, and we'll be speaking at both. But just think of a group of people who are really at the top of their game in the game of capital, honestly, for Capital Camp side. And last year when we spoke there was only 400 people in the Capital Camp event, and it represented $550 billion worth of capital.
Oh.
So it's unusual to see people who have this level of commitment to investing money, but the conversations, like I learned things and met people and saw things. I've just learned that for a very small entry, you can be in a room and meet people you'd never meet before and see things you've never seen before. And that has transformed me. So meeting Brent and becoming his friend has opened a whole new world to me. And he's a godly man that stewards $300 million worth of capital in one of the most innovative ways you've ever seen. He has that money for 30 years locked with one 30-year renewal option.
Yeah, that's the horizon, as he was talking about his business a little bit on how they invest, is so different than anything else I've ever seen or heard of. Frankly,
Yeah.
it's just they take
And
a
the way
long
he handles
view.
no fees. Really, he does a shared split of income. But you get to meet these guys, and I just think that you couldn't put a price. I mean, if you tried to get that group of people together and paid them all $1 million a day to be there, you couldn't do it. But they're all together.
Yep.
And so it's meeting people you'd never meet and having conversations that you may never have, and relationships. Every great season of my life started with meeting somebody, and so did every bad one.
Yeah, that's.
Let me ask you about the 5 Fs. Is that something people can find at marshcollective.com?
Yep, it's a free survey in the couples section. It's right now for couples. We also do it for companies. But what it does is it allows you to take 10 questions and codify with a number like how blessed do you feel with your level of income? You know?
Yeah.
You have a community that supports you. It just takes you through each 5 Fs. And once you put a number on them, I recommend you and your spouse do it and then compare them, because you're going to be surprised how your spouse is experiencing and living in the same life you are and seeing it quite differently.
Yeah. I can totally see that.
Well, I'll tell you, I want to come and see Opelika. I want to see
Oh, my
what those
friend,
10
you
blocks
let us
look
know. I
like.
tell you, Ash's definition of hospitality drives everything we do. And she said she got it from God. She said, hospitality is, I thought of you before you got here.
That's awesome.
Oh, I
And
love
so
that.
when you come here, you'll see it. I mean, our fine dining concept that we just finished has the largest selection of Piedmont Italian wines in the world. And we import all that wine ourselves from the Piedmont region of Italy, from small batch producers. Some of them don't have a tractor, a cell phone, or a paved road to their house.
Now, that sounds great and all, but I'm from Kentucky. Like, how's your bourbon selection?
Well, it's hard to beat Kentucky. So I'm not going to set up against the home set advantage there.
You're smart.
Hey, I'm easy to please, though.
We're
I'll tell
going to
you.
win at what we can win at. But I tell you what, one thing we do have that I think is real unusual. It took us 16 months to design our zero proof offering, and we have one of the best zero proof offerings in the world. And everyone is a heritage made drink. And so we pair zero proof cocktails, and wine with food. And so we do flavor profiles. We hand make our pasta daily with ancient grains. And so we've got, it's pretty unusual. I tell you what, wear 2 pair of socks because it's going to blow one off for sure. You may take both of them off. But one thing you'll see in our new restaurant's called Piedmont on Piedmont. So it's Piedmont, Italy meets the Piedmont Plateau in Alabama. And so it's just a love of grandmas and great cooking from 2 different regions and great wine and food. And so it's excellent. And Ash says this, and this is another one of her definitions. And Ash, after 20 years of homeschooling our boys and running the back end of the companies, I said, well, baby, what do you want to do now that your job ain't hiring anymore? And if any of y'all have spouses who will come up to that date, I recommend 2 or 3 years out before your children leave home, you start working on what will be the purpose that your spouse will devote the next season of their life to, if they've been at home with their kids, because it can be a dark time and a lot of people fail.
I bet.
Yeah.
We got about
But
2
she
hours.
said,
Yeah, we got 2
prayed
years
about
left.
it, thought about it, and she came to me and said, I know what I want to do. I said, what's that? She said, fix what you messed up. So she took over 14 companies, and she's been leading them for the last 6 years. And I'm so honored to get to see her gifts and see them shine. She's an ISTJ, which is like a heat-seeking missile. Yeah. I'm like high energy, low IQ. It's a powerful combination. Think of me like a bottle rocket with the stick snapped off sometimes. Lots of power, no direction.
Yep. I understand that.
She's done a wonderful job, but she taught me something. She said, that beauty is the result of love. Anything that's really loved is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're trying to, if you come here and don't see love, we missed it.
Well, we got to have her on with you next time.
You got to.
Yeah, because I'm probably speaking for both of us. We could talk to you for hours. Like, there's so much we could dig into and talk about.
This exceeded my expectations, but it also went how I thought it would go. I thought you two would just bounce off each other and I'd get to watch.
Yeah.
Me and him are listening to the same
great.
radio stations. We're wired up together. We speak native languages, me and Timmy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
For
true.
sure.
It's true.
Had a lot of translation to get to you, Bo. You look at us and go, God, they're excited, but I don't know what they're saying.
Sometimes.
It's exciting, but they're just talking all crazy.
But
they bounce
regardless-
around like a ping pong ball.
It feels good, though.
It feels good.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does
yeah.
feel good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been absolutely outstanding.
John, this is great. Thank you so much.
Man, it's been incredible. So much fun. I love getting to hang out and share all these things. So y'all guys are awesome.
Okay, I think my soul just did a backflip.
You good?
No, I feel like John Marsh just built a restoration plan for my inner child. Like, I walked in with a podcast outline and walked out with several mission statements that would fit on a bumper sticker.
That's the John Marsh effect. And if it hit you like it hit us, go subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. And make sure you sign up for our newsletter at subscribe.wgbaron.com. We send out the latest episodes, plus articles on leadership, negotiation, mindset, all the stuff that makes us better at business and being human.
And if you're ready to clone yourself and actually buy back your time, go check out superpowershq.com/commercially speaking for the best virtual assistants out there. For those in the back, that's superpowershq.com/commercially speaking.
And now, Timmy, do you want to do the Barbara Corcoran thing? Or
Actually, John, you're great with words. Would you mind?
Well, I tell you something, Barbara Corcoran. If I were you, it's John Marsh, and I spent an hour and a half with these two, and I can say with full conviction, they're wild, they're passionate, and they're good at asking questions. And I don't know if I've had more fun with two crazy different dudes in a long time. So consider this an official invite. And let me tell you something, the difference in a home run and a foul ball's timing. So you better get on this thing. Come join these guys and get it done.
Yeah!
talk to me, John Marsh.
Oh, John
Nicely
Marsh.
done. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. We'll see you all next week.
Love you, brother.
Love you too.
Bye, Alice.
Hi, great episode.
Hey! We've never got a great episode from her before.
I know. I think we.
Everything's good.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good one. I'm excited about that, especially since Alice loved it. So we know
Oh,
that
yeah.
for sure.
We know it's good.